Successful tech entrepreneurs learn from the mistakes and the successes of who came before them. Olivetti was a company founded at the beginning of the 20th century in Ivrea. At some point, they made incredible innovation, the first desktop computer, the first mainframe run by transistor. They did a lot of things, and they were probably the first company that applied design to everything they did, way before Apple. So the graphics, the products, the buildings, everything, design applied to everything. In the 90s, they kind of fizzled out. So today I'm going to take you to a museum in the northwest of Italy called Laboratorio Museo Tecnologicamente, which is dedicated to innovative products and history of Olivetti. You can see me here giving an intro to a bunch of Italian visitors. I volunteer at the museum every few months and I give tours. So if you want to come to the museum, you can get an idea of what you can see there, but the place is amazing. Also, Ivrea is amazing. You get good food, design, architecture, technology. Join me in the museum. This is actually one of the first products done by Camillo Olivetti, the founder of Olivetti, in 1902. It is a power meter, measures electricity, and then plots it on a graph. It's essentially anticipating what now the dashboards we use now on IoT, but it's writing on paper. Here's a bunch of different layouts of late 19th century typewriters. And you can see that people have experimented with different layouts before they kind of gelled around the layout that we use now, even on computer. This one is considered a lightweight typewriter for the era. It was 12 kilos. Now this is the first typewriter made by Camillo Olivetti in 1908. That's the first logo. This was the first typewriter entirely made in Italy. These are different typewriters from the 30s and 40s. But now we arrive here. This is a typewriter designed by Sozzas. It's made of plastic. It's from the late 60s. This is the Lettra 22, the most popular typewriter ever made in Italy. This one is an incredible selection of typewriter with different technologies, so we're not gonna go into very much detail about it, but Olivetti did build every single type of typewriter you can imagine. So this room basically is dedicated to calculators. The person you see on the back, Natale Cappellaro, was essentially a genius that invented a lot of the mechanisms inside of this mechanical calculator. Olivetti was an absolute leader in mechanical calculators, and then later on even electronic calculator. But that Divi Summa, it's a huge, huge product, and that you can see the incredible amount of levers and mechanisms that allow you to do all the different calculations that you now do with electronic calculator that cost just a couple of euros. They used to cost like a MacBook Pro. And here I'm just telling the story of Natale Cappellaro that started off as a young apprentice and became the CTO, if you want to call it like that, of Olivetti, because he was a genius of mechanics. And in the other side of the room, there's an example, again, of calculators from different eras. There's a bunch of calculators from the late 19th century, early 20th century. And one of the interesting things about this is that a lot of these calculators were manual, so you had to turn a handle to make them work. Here are just manual devices for making calculations. Here I'm doing the handle gesture. And that particular calculator was very popular in the US, called Monroe. The interface is a bit of a nightmare. And this is the most sophisticated mechanical calculator probably ever made. In the late 60s, after this, Olivetti realized that there was no way they could continue making only mechanical calculator, and they kind of shifted over to electronic calculator. That interesting device, it's a machine that was used probably mostly for invoicing. That is the core memory of an Elea 9000, which is the first fully transistorized mainframe ever made in the world, made by Olivetti in the late 50s. You can see behind the people in the room, there are also some of the sections of this thing. Here I'm kind of telling the story that in order to do that, Olivetti kind of hired local seamstresses to basically manually putting together this memory pack. So that's an 80 kilobyte memory. That was incredibly expensive back in the days. And right now, that stuff, it's just a JPEG. This is the Olivetti Programma 101, the first desktop computer in the world. It's an amazing device. It was launched in 1965, and it allowed people to do calculations based on a stored program. And it was incredible for that time because it was only $8,000, which was incredibly low for that time. They invented this magnetic card. Each card is 2 programs, so it's very simple to use for people that have never used any computer. This is from the 60s, so they had to invent an entire interface. This machine was purchased by NASA, who had multiple of these machines used in the Apollo program. You can see behind me there's a poster that explains what NASA was doing with the Programma 101. That is a prototype of the memory, which is basically storing the data by circulating it into this piece of metal that's vibrating. It was a crazy hack, but it made the machine cheaper because if they used the core memory you saw in the previous segment, then it would have been incredibly expensive. So they invented a lot of techniques, or they reused techniques, like in this case, to make the product as cheap as possible. Here I'm showing some more 1970s technology. That's a disk pack that you can add to a big computer. The whole thing looks like a washing machine. You drop it in, you turn it around, and it spins. And these are terminals that were developed by Olivetti in the 70s for banks, and they were very popular. That is the Olivetti M24, PC compatible, made in the mid-80s in Italy. It was so popular that it made Olivetti probably the biggest manufacturer of personal computer in Europe for a few years. It was very compatible to IBM, costed a lot less, and had a lot more features. And the one on the right is the Olivetti M20, which was an incredible machine, but it came at the wrong time and basically never had any success. That is the portable version of the M24. And this is one of my favorites, is the Quaderno. It's a tiny laptop from the very early 90s, which basically runs PC software. And you can see there's buttons on the front because you can actually record audio messages while the laptop is closed. So it was an incredible machine that anticipated a bunch of the things you do now with a smartphone.